Am I recording? Hello again, it's me Chaz back with another video. This match day 6 of the AFC World Cup qualifiers. All 9 matches took place on the 19th of November. These were the results. And we now know 2 nations who cannot be eliminated from this round after both winning their games on match day 6. First, Iran, who defeated Kyrgyzstan 3-2, and Japan, who defeated China 3-1, which now means both of those nations cannot finish lower than 4th in their groups. So again, they cannot be eliminated from the World Cup qualifiers in this round. And in Japan's case, if they win their next game, they will qualify for the World Cup in 2026. Also, what happened on match 6, Indonesia shock win over Saudi Arabia has now put them back into the 4th round positions. And in Group A, United Arab Emirates defeated Qatar 5-0 and now are 3 points behind Uzbekistan. In Group A, Uzbekistan are currently 2nd, which is a World Cup qualifying spot. I'll go into more detail on those matches and all the other ones in my match day 6 of the AFC World Cup qualifiers for 2026. Alright, as I usually do, I'm going to start off with Group A. And this is how Group A now looks after match day 6. As you can see, Iran still top, 3 points clear of Uzbekistan, who are 2nd. Now, as I mentioned earlier, because of the points, Iran can now not finish below 4th. And they defeated Kyrgyzstan 3-2, maintaining their undefeated run in the qualifiers. Uzbekistan did lose their undefeated run after losing to Qatar on match day 5, but they bounced back and defeated North Korea 1-0. The 3rd and 4th place teams, United Arab Emirates and Qatar, played each other. And I mentioned earlier, United Arab Emirates defeated Qatar 5-0, which now puts them 3 points clear of Qatar, and now they're just 3 points behind Uzbekistan in 2nd, which is the automatic qualifying places for the World Cup. On the other end of the table, as mentioned, Kyrgyzstan and North Korea both lost their games. Now, Kyrgyzstan 4 points behind Qatar, who are 4th, which is the 4th round spot, and North Korea, who also lost, are now 5 points behind. And if it remains like this, both Kyrgyzstan and North Korea will be eliminated from qualifying for the World Cup. And speaking of North Korea, the game between them and Uzbekistan ended 1-0 to Uzbekistan. Zuliev was the goal scorer for North Korea. Took a shot from outside the box, took a deflection, 1-0 to Uzbekistan. And that is Zuliev's 3rd goal in qualifiers. On match day 5, he did bring Uzbekistan back into the game against Qatar, scoring 2 goals. Unfortunately, it weren't enough. This time around, his 1 goal was enough. Late on, though, in the second half, North Korea was awarded a penalty because of a handball. Ejmuldov was the player that handballed it. The referee gave a straight red, and that's a penalty for North Korea. And that was in the 83rd minute, so very late on. John Il-Guan took the penalty, but it was saved by Yusupov. And that's actually the 2nd time he saved the penalty against North Korea. Because on match day 1, North Korea was given another penalty, and he saved that one. Late on, he made another save, Yusupov, and the game ended 1-0. Great keeping by him. If Uzbekistan will qualify for their very first World Cup, it's moments like these which should be remembered. So again, great way to bounce back for Uzbekistan after losing their unbeaten run to Qatar. The next game for Uzbekistan is in March next year. They'll be playing at home against Kyrgyzstan, while North Korea will pay a visit to Qatar in the next game. For North Korea, they failed to win a game in this round so far. So Uzbekistan still in second, and North Korea still 6th, bottom of the table. All right, next up, Kyrgyzstan played Iran, as I mentioned earlier. Iran defeated Kyrgyzstan 3-2. Now, this game sort of went a little similar to the Iran's last game against North Korea. Iran were 2-0 up in the first half. This time around, Taremi did scored in the 12th minute. Keeper made a decent save from a corner. However, it bounced off one of his defenders, and Taremi was in the right place at the right time. Tap in. Taremi did score the winner against Kyrgyzstan the last time Iran played Kyrgyzstan on match day 1. Pretty good counter for the second goal for Iran. Azmoun set up Haldini. It was a pass. Haldini just about wins the ball. Nice goal from him. Makes it 2-0. However, in the second half, Cujo scores 2 goals. One, a header in the 51st minute. And the second one was a penalty in the 64th minute. Just to make a note, Kojo also scored Kyrgyzstan's 200th goal ever. So, good for him. Good for the nation. But that said, Azmoun added to his assist by scoring in the 76th minute. Mahabadi crossed the ball into the box, and Azmoun scored a header, making it 3-2. And that is now his 7th goal in qualifiers. And the winner, 3-2 to Iran, 3 points clear of Uzbekistan, who are second, and 6 points clear of UAE, who are third. As I mentioned, Iran cannot finish below 4th, and it looks like they will qualify for another World Cup. Outside of Kyrgyzstan's win against North Korea, they lost 5 out of 6 matches. In March, Kyrgyzstan will go up against the second place team, Uzbekistan, away, while Iran take on United Arab Emirates, who currently are third. Alright, and talking of the United Arab Emirates, they defeated Qatar, the 2022 hosts, 5-0. Fabio Lima had a phenomenal match. He scored 4 of the 5 goals against Qatar. He scored two penalties, great goal in his first goal, and a quality free kick. So El Ghassani assisted Lima in the first half for the first goal in the 4th minute. Then they were rewarded a penalty in the 45th minute, making it 2-0 in the first half. And then 5 minutes into extra time in the first half, quality free kick, making it 3-0 to UAE. And a hat-trick for Lima. And he added another in the 56th minute. Again, another penalty, making it 4-0. A long ball from Ibrahim to Al Ghassani, making it 5-0. Again, he added to his assist for Lima in the first half. the previous game, United Arab Emirates defeated Qatar 3-1 at Qatar. So that's 8 goals in total UAE was able to put past Qatar. Now they're third, 3 points behind Uzbekistan, who are second, which is the World Cup qualifying spot. And now they've put some distance between them and Qatar, though both nations would qualify for the 4th round. If it was to end this way on match day 10. Now, the UAE will take on Iran, who are top of the table next. That game will take place on March, and that is varies a 6-pointer. A win there would close the gap for UAE. Qatar, on the other hand, will take on the bottom team in Group A, and that's North Korea. Again, let's take another look at Group A's table, and as you can see, Iran, top, 16 points, still unbeaten in qualifiers, and now can't finish below 4th. Uzbekistan managed to bounce back, 3 points clear of UAE in 3rd. So that's the top 2 teams who would qualify if the group was to end at match day 10 like this. UAE 3rd, Qatar 4th, Kyrgyzstan 5th, and North Korea 6th. Alright, let's move on to Group B. Okay, Group B. Now let's look at the Group B table first. South Korea still top. Despite their draw against Palestine, the 1-1 draw, they are top on 14 points and still unbeaten. Iraq moved up to 2nd place after defeating Oman 1-0 and are now 2 points clear of Jordan, who are 3rd. They drew with Kuwait 1-1 and are now in 3rd. Oman, despite their defeat to Iraq, are still 4th. And Kuwait managed to get a point against Jordan, which now puts them 2 points behind Oman, who are in 4th as mentioned. And Palestine, despite their point against South Korea, are still bottom of Group B. So let's start with the group leaders. South Korea, they drew again to Palestine, this time 1-1. Previous time they played each other, which was on match day 1, that was a 0-0 draw. Very surprising. This time, again, Palestine managed to get a point against South Korea. This time around, Palestine were leading. Kwamba scored in the 12th minute. A poor back pass by Kim In-jae. Kwamba reacted fast, slid, did a nice little spin, and the shot made it 1-0 to Palestine. But 4 minutes later, Son scored. Really good team goal here. Started with Son's nice little back heel, and then Lee Jong-sung, nice pass. And Son managed to score. That is now Son's 10th goal in qualifiers now. And did get the equaliser. Nothing else. No more goals. 1-1. Again, this is the top team against the bottom team. 1-1 draw. Nothing changed for both nations. So, next year, in March, Palestine will go up against Jordan, while South Korea will take on Oman. Right, and I mentioned Oman. Oman took on Iraq and were defeated 1-0 by Iraq. This win for Iraq did move them up to now 2nd. Again, another nice team goal. Jasmine with a lovely skill passed it to Yassine, and Yassine assisted. Yusuf Amin scored the winner, making it 1-0 as I mentioned. The previous time these two teams played, it was 1-0 in that game as well. So that's maximum points for Iraq over Oman. Oman still remains in 4th place after this game. Oman's next game will go up against the group leaders, and that is South Korea in March, while Iraq take on 5th place Kuwait. Alright, and now the final game in Group B was between Kuwait and Jordan. 5th team against the 3rd. At the time, Jordan was 2nd. But the game ended in a 1-1 draw. Points dropped for Jordan and a point gained for Kuwait. El Namat scored in the 21st minute for Jordan. It's now his 7th goal in qualifying. But in the second half, Dayam scored for Kuwait, making it 1-1. The previous time, it was a 1-1 draw when these two teams played. Yep, drop points for Jordan, who's trying to qualify for the World Cup for the first time. Well, a point gained, as I mentioned, for Kuwait, who haven't qualified for the World Cup since 1982 in Spain. So let's look at the Group B's table again. As mentioned, South Korea, they're in a good position to qualify for another World Cup. And Iraq has now moved to 2nd, 3 points behind South Korea now, and 2 points above Jordan, who are 3rd. As mentioned, Jordan dropped to 3rd, Oman 4th, so that is the 4th round spot, and Kuwait and Palestine bottom of Group B. I forgot to mention, Iraq will take on Kuwait and Jordan will take on Palestine. Those games would all take place on March 20th, I believe. March 20th, 2025. All right, now let's move on to the last group. And what a chaotic group it is. That is Group C. So Group C, a group with potentially so many different outcomes. There is only one guarantee so far, and that is Japan cannot be eliminated from this round. Now being on 16 points and still undefeated. They defeated China 3-1 and still remain top of Group C, 16 points. 9 points clear of Australia, who are 2nd with 7 points. And while Japan look like they're doing their own thing, the rest of is extremely close. As mentioned, Australia have 7 points and are 2nd, and that is the World Cup qualifying spot. However, they're only a point clear of 6th place China and a point clear of Indonesia, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, who all have 6 points. So any of those 5 teams could be eliminated. They could finish anywhere. And with Japan only a win away, 3 points they need in their next 4 games, Japan looks like the only team in this group that can and most likely will qualify by March of next year. Let's talk about the matches. As I mentioned, Japan did defeat China 3-1. The last time Japan and China played each other, Japan defeated China 7-0. This time around, it was a bit more respectful for China. And all 3 goals for Japan were headers. Ugawa scored 2 goals. His first goal came in the 39th minute from a corner. Kuba with a good corner into the box. And Ugawa, great header, made it 1-0. Another corner for the second goal. Ito with a corner. Mashida heads it on. Itakura scores 2-0 just before the end of the first half. China do get a goal back though. Ying and Ming scores for China to make it 2-1. But again, Ito with nice bit of skill drops one defender, crosses the ball in, and Ugawa makes it 3-1. That's his second goal for Uruguay. 3-1 for Japan. Closer than the last game, but not by much really. Still another comfortable win for Japan. And they still look like the most dominant team in this region. Japan can secure qualification for the World Cup in 2026 next year in March when they go up against Bahrain. Japan did defeat Bahrain 5-0 away the last time those two teams played each other on match day 2. China still ain't out of it. Like I said, they're on 6 points. They're only a point behind Australia. They could still qualify for the World Cup in this round. But China will play Saudi Arabia next March, where they did lose their previous encounter 2-1. Right, let's move on to the next game, and that was between Indonesia and Saudi Arabia. Indonesia defeated Saudi Arabia, which was surprising. Well, they did. They beat them 2-0. Marcelino was the goal scorer twice, 32nd and 57th minute, making it 2-0 for Indonesia. And though they did get a man sent off, Hubner, in the 89th minute late on, 2 yellow cards for him. It wasn't the best international break for him. He did score an own goal in a previous game against Japan. Regardless, though, his team, his nation, Indonesia, still were able to beat Saudi Arabia. And that win took them from 6th, which would have meant elimination, to now 3rd, which, as you can see, as I mentioned before, is a 4th round spot. They're also just a point behind Australia, who are 2nd, which is the automatic qualifying spot for the World Cup. Great win for Indonesia. Unfortunately for Saudi Arabia, it's more points dropped after their draw with Australia, where last minute goal was ruled out. It's not looking good for them. They are 4th though, and as mentioned, they still have 6 points. They're still only a point behind Australia. The previous game between these two nations did end in a 1-1 draw. Australia will be Indonesia's next opponents. That match was a draw, while Saudi Arabia will take on China. Saudi Arabia did defeat China the previous time they played. All right, now the last game, final match between Bahrain and Australia, which ended 2-2. So Australia opened up the scoring. Poor back pass by Baki allowed Yengi to score for Australia. Interesting thing about Yengi, the first time these two nations played each other, which ended in a 1-0 win for Bahrain, Yengi was sent off in that game. So he came back, managed to score. Good for him. And for a long time, Australia were leading 1-0 all into the second half. But at the 75th minute, a miscontrol by Burgess for Australia pretty much handed the ball to Abdul Jabbar, who saw the keeper off his line. Long shot, made it 1-1. 2 minutes later, cross comes in. Almost an own goal by Australia. The ball landed to Abdul Jabbar. A simple tap in made it 2-1. Abdul Jabbar was also a substitute, so great substitution for Bahrain. Made it 2-1, but right at the end, Yengi, who scored the first goal, who gave Australia the lead against Bahrain, was able to equalise right at the end. 5 minutes into extra time, made it 2-2. That is now his 6th goal in qualifying. What a way to come back after that red card against Bahrain. Able to equalise, make Australia have a point clear of the other nations who will all have 6, and now Australia are still second in Group C. Let's look at Group C's table again quickly. Let's mention Japan. They're doing their own thing, you know. They're 9 points clear of Australia, who are second, 10 points clear of the rest of the field. Looking strong. Again, just need another 3 points from their next 4 games. And their next game will be against Bahrain. So as mentioned, Australia second. Indonesia moved up from bottom to third. Great for them. And now just a point behind Australia. Saudi Arabia dropped quite a bit of points in their last 2 games. Not a good international break for them in November. And now they're 4th. Bahrain have now dropped out of the 4th round spots and then now are in the elimination position. And China, despite having good wins on match day 5 and 4 against Indonesia and Bahrain, they played Japan again, lost, and are last, but in a lot better position than they were previously, because now they're still only a point away from Australia, who are second. So despite being bottom, they're still have a good chance to qualify for the World Cup in 2026 in the 3rd round. All right, let's have a look at the results again quickly. And let's move on to the fixtures. The fixtures for match day 7. These games will take place on March the 20th, I believe. All right then. All right, so this most likely will be my last video of the AFC World Cup qualifiers, at least for this year. I'll continue the coverage back in March or earlier next year. Again, kind of like with the OFC video, I've enjoyed covering this as well. I kind of wish I was able to cover it from the start back in round 1, but this is the serious end. This is the round where nations will qualify for the World Cup. And I think by March, we would know at least 3 nations from the AFC who will qualify for the World Cup in 2026. And hopefully they'll put in a great performance and maybe one of those nations has the chance to win it. It's hard to tell when it's in the different regions and that, especially those who haven't won it. As I said before, only nations from the CONMEBOL and the UEFA has ever won the World Cup. Well, teams in the AFC are getting stronger, as you could see with Japan, Iran and South Korea looking extremely dominant in their groups, a lot more than previous times. Again, all 3 of these nations still remain unbeaten. And let's see what they could do against other nations outside of Asia at the World Cup. In 2022, for the first time, 3 nations from the AFC were able to get out the group stages and enter the round of 16. With 8, now a possible 9 nations from the AFC able to qualify for the World Cup, there's now an even bigger chance for a team from Asia to win the World Cup for the very first time. All right, that was my match day 6 AFC World Cup qualifiers for 2026 review. Hope you enjoyed listening, watching. Thanks again, and bye.